Hi guys, welcome to the first stream. Let's stop the film music for a while. To be honest, I don't know how to do this thing, so I hope that's not a problem. Also, I don't know if you can hear the music actually or not. However, okay, let's leave it as simple as we possibly can. The goal of today is to have some fun and maybe write some code. I think that we are going to start with our, of course, we are going to be building Workkit, that's for sure. So the thing we are going to do is do the projects part of the Workkit app. So what would we consider a project? I don't know, like a project would be a container for a lot of things. So it would be something simple, right? Something that's like just has the name or a project or whatever. And then we could expand on this idea, maybe write some tests, maybe create a view or two in our next app. I have actually prepared some things before we started. It's a skeleton of that indicates the loading state, and like this resembles the actual view. I don't know if this would look like this. I am not a fan of this, to be honest, so we'll think of this something else. Okay, so let's get started. We'll start by writing some PHP. So let's make it simple, maybe increase the font a little bit. So we could start by creating a model with migration factory in the models directory. So this would be models and then a project. Okay, this might take a while. My computer is not the best out there. And I'm using Docker, which slows things a bit, but it's not the end of the world, I guess. So we have this new migration called create projects table. We could start by adding there a string with project name. So this would be the first thing, I guess. But the project would actually be a part of a team. So we'd have a team ID, you would have a name. And for starters, I guess this would be all, because we want to create projects quickly and then maybe later add some settings or privacy or whatever. But this would be in different models, so let's stick with this one. Okay, so let's run the migration. Oh man. I guess I was doing some work before and I forgot to clean up. So we would go into our Laradoc MySQL container and then drop the database. Sorry. Okay. So let's create it once again and run our migration. Maybe close the WebStorm as we are not doing any frontend yet. And now run the migration suite. Okay, it went through. So that's great. So we have our project. I guess next step would be to create a controller. So let's go with project controller. And yeah, I doubt there will be a lot of viewers. However, you can still watch this as a video later. So let's stick to that. Okay. Let's clean this up and make things simple. And now let's start by creating a view function. So as for now, the projects would be something like a team has, right? So let's start it simple and just get currently authenticated user, then get his team, and then get a list of projects. And let's do it like a dummies, just die and dump it to see if it's working. So let's add a root with get for the project controller class, and then index function, give it a name. Okay, so now if we go into our browser and go into projects, we would get redirected to the login screen because we are not authenticated. So let's run these headers, and now we can log in as testexample.com, and password is password, I believe. Yeah, we are here. So let's do projects. And apparently we already have this view, so let's comment it out. And you have to name your route. Okay, so now we get null because the team doesn't have a relationship yet. So if we go into our team model, then we can add a new sorry about that. Okay, let's add the projects relationship. This would be a has many type, and this would simply return this has many project class. Okay, so now we will get an empty relationship instance. So this is actually what we want to have at the moment. We would be formatting this as an API. Sorry, just a sip of coffee to keep the steam up. I guess we could do the simple way, at least for now, and just return a list of projects in an array, like that. Then delete this part and add the type hints, simplify, and then we can have our JSON response. So we have the first thing figured out. This will actually be a very simple CRUD controller. I could have actually created this as resource controller, right? So it would have all the necessary routes. Let's create an empty, at least empty methods for each action would have there. So we'd have a store action, we would have an update action, and we would have delete. I guess I don't like the destroy, so let's go with delete. I guess I know some people like it one way, some people like it another. I personally prefer the delete. So we would have a post request to projects that would create a new one. Then we would have a patch request to projects and then to specific project. And then we would have a delete request to specific project. Right. So this would be delete. We can actually update these two as an update. And then we could have the store method here. Okay, so this would work. Okay, so for storing, you know what, guys, I actually prefer this one better, but it's the wrong import. Request. This one. Okay, so instead of auth user, we'll do request user, and then we can pretty much update the dog block so we get this out of the way. And now for the store method. We'd actually want some validation, right? Because we wouldn't want a project with blank name. So let's create a new request called, I know we have some message. So first a noun and then action. So let's go with project. We did create for message. I prefer the store actually. So project store request. And then we can inject it in the store method, and I guess it would be the same for the update method. So let's do that. So we'd have project store request, then request. And here we would also take the project as a parameter that would be auto-injected. This would actually be the same case here. That's right. Okay, so we can assume that each and every one of these would be returning a JSON response. So now as for the store method, I think since it's very simple, we could do something like this. Team projects create requests. Well, no, that's too long for me to handle. Okay, so let's do it this way. Let's do project. Then we would pass it here, and then we could do something like this. Not validate, validated. Right. Okay, so this seems right. Oh, let me just open the another thing here. Okay. Let's proceed. So As for the update part, like we won't be handling the authentication at the moment, so like we are not checking if the project belongs to a team. Not yet. We'll like I still didn't make it my mind about whether to use policies or just inject requests and then validate this in the request. So as for now, we will just assume that everything is okay and the user can access everything. So let's do that. The project, we could do something like this, and then do tap project update request validated. Keep it simple. So here we would delete a project. Like the proper way to do this would be in a try catch block. So let's do this. I guess this would be a model not found exception. Okay, it throws an exception actually, but this. Oh, I am quite sure this was changed because I believe that. Okay, but okay, I'm just dumb. Okay, never mind. This would never be a case in like for us, so let's keep it simple. Then just return a response of JSON. I like this approach. You could like just return the message or like return the project before deletion. For now, let's just keep it as a null, and then we will think on changing this. But you know, we are just bootstrapping here today, so we'll be doing all the what I like to do is move very quickly and then take a look at the old code, and then we can adjust, right? So this would be something that I prefer. Let's just throw some auto formatting and we should have this one. Another sip of coffee. Okay, so let's think of a project. A project is a container, right? So inside this container, what we would have is something called a board. And one project can have many boards actually. So maybe open the best presenting tool in the world, so Paint, and think of a project this way. So this would be a project that would contain another like things in the app. So we'd have boards. Actually, just let's do it just for the boards. So a project will have many boards, and in each of the boards there would be something like a task list, so a Kanban board, and then each task list would actually have a task or an issue or a card. So let's call it a board. Then we have a task list. I don't know, card list. Let's call it cards. I like the cards. Then we'd have a card. why I don't want to do tasks is because I am thinking of actually doing something like a checkbox inside of the card, like a checkbox list. So this would be called like a to-do list and then to do, or I don't know, or I was just talking, or a task, right? So this would be like something simple, a task or a to do. Okay, so we could actually create like the board model and migration. And like we are not testing this thing yet. Even this model is like this custom request is not yet finished, but it's a quick one, so we can actually do this. It will be required minimum of 3 and maximum of, I don't know, 63. So we have this one covered. Let's add it to Git. Yeah. So let's go to creating another model and another controller. So let's create a board. Then we can create a card list. I don't know, it feels kind of maybe go with task list, and then to do would be the better for like the one-off items. So let's do task list. And now we can do the task. So I don't know, let's go with the music. I don't know if you guys can even hear this. It's my first stream, but it seems like you can actually. So let's get this quite. I hope the volume is okay when the stream, because I have some delay when the stream comes. Yeah, I'm just checking the volume, so give me a second. Oh, it's I don't know, I can't hear it on the stream, so let's keep it just running. It works for me, and you guys will have to do without the music. Okay, so we have all of the models, we have all of the migrations, all factories, so let's go into the board. So create boards migration. So first thing, a board would have a foreign ID because it belongs to a project, right? So let's have a project ID. Then a board would have a name. Okay, so name is here, and now we can do, like, do we need anything for the board? I guess we don't, at least for now, right? So this would be pretty much the same thing as the project. So what we can do is make a new controller called, I don't know, a board controller. Yeah, this seems quite logical. So let's grab the whole project controller and go into the board controller. We'll paste it and then change the board, change the name. So how would this work? We would accept here a project, update the doc. Okay, and then we would simply have a project, and then from the project we would get all the boards. Let's don't worry about pagination now. So this seems right. Here is pretty much the same thing. We of course wouldn't have the project store controller. We would have the board store controller. So let's go with board. And actually what we're gonna do is copy the project store controller, store request of course. Well, let's just get the rules. Then go into the board store request, delete this part because it would actually default to true. If we take a look, authorize. If its method exists, then it calls the method, and if not, it returns true. So we are free to delete it at this point. And let's paste the rules. We would just need the name and the project, but we get the project from the URL. So just a name. So change it to board store request, and we would also get a project. So now we just call the project create. Here we get a board, and we'll get a board. Here we don't need the $sign. Update the doc, and for the update, it's pretty much the same thing. We'd have a board. We would update with a new board store request. We don't need a project here, but we need a board. All right, so same thing here. Let's change it to board, and then return an nulled board. Right. Okay, this is starting to get some shape. These two were very simple. The fun part will begin in a moment, but first a sip of coffee. All right. We can delete the request from here, reformat the code, and I think we are good to go. So we have the project done, we have the board done. So now we get to focus on the card lists, and this will actually be a little bit more interesting. So we have the create task list, right? We would get the same thing. So for an ID of a board, then we would have a name That would be a string. Maybe a title would be a better choice, actually. No, I believe that name is better. So as you know, like when you have tools like Trello, you get like multiple of these cards, right? Of these task lists. Sorry, I have to use the proper language. Okay, so we have many of these. So actually, what we want to do is move them around, right? So we would need some sort of field that would indicate in which order they should be displayed. So we'll create a new unsigned integer, unsigned small integer, actually. Small integer that would be assigned, unsigned. And in here, we can call this like index, we can call this order, a position. I kind of like the index, but let's go with order. And of course, we have the timestamps, etc., etc. All right. So the challenging part is getting the order to like auto increment whenever it's created in the board. Like we could use a package. I believe that Patty has a great one called Laravel Sortable, but we are not going to do this. What we actually gonna do is build it ourselves. Sorry, just let me check the how is the quality. Oh. Okay, never mind. Let's create the controller. So we have a task list controller. And then we would have another request called task list store request. And the funny part is that as the whole editing and creating, we would just need a name again. So we have pretty much 3 models that have the same fields. So here is our name. Then what we want to do is go into task list controller and again do the same boring thing, which is just creating another controller. Task list controller. And now let's call it a list, or maybe not a list, maybe I don't know, I like the list, just something simple. Lists, right. So here we'll get a board. Again, we are not concerned with the permissions and all this stuff. So actually what we're gonna do is from the board we are going to take all the lists. Keep it this way. I don't like when the relationship has something like task list. Like it's not the end of the world, but I mean it's the only list that a board can have, at least for now. So it's working for me. Let's leave it this way. And since we are not using this, clean it up, and then we are good to go. Alrighty, so board task list store request. Update the doc, and now what we gonna accept here is a board. Then we're gonna do board lists create request validated, same stuff. We would return a list and then just change this to a list. Okay, so update part, pretty much the same thing. We would take I guess that we can do this. Somewhere in the back in the olden days, Laravel wouldn't recognize the model if this name has to be exactly the same that we call this in web PHP. However, I believe that's no longer the case. So keep it simple, keep it short, and actually the request would be task list store request. All right, so here we would get a task list, and then just call it list and return a null one. Alrighty, let's reformat the code. And everything seems in place. So like the bootstrapping part, and this is quite amazing in Laravel actually, that you can get a lot of things done in no time pretty much. Like the stream is on like, I know, 40, nearly 40 minutes, more like 30. And I was able to like do 12 post requests that wouldn't actually work because we didn't set the relationships. However, it's very fast, and it might feel counterintuitive to do this way, this like radical approach of just bootstrapping a lot of files and then fixing the errors. I very much like that. Like it's a challenge to think of every possible error that can go here. I mean, since it's very, very, very easy and really not complex, I guess there won't be nearly any, but just doing one thing at a time, isn't my thing. So, okay, so once again, we have the project, right? So a team would have many projects. That's something that we have set already. And then a project would have many boards. So has many board. And we have the relationship, and then a board would have many lists, right? Oh. Okay, it works. That's right. Okay. I was worried that it wouldn't work like when it's a reserved keyword, so has many task lists. So we are like going down the tree and just like from top model to the bottom model. And then another thing is that the task list would actually have, again, have many tasks. So a lot of things that we are doing now. But actually we didn't yet change our migration. So let's go to create tasks table. And here we can define all of the things. So a task, right, is something that would be a part of a task list. So let's call it just list ID. We'll change the key in relationship. And now a task, of course, again, would have a name, right? So that's right. And task is something that can be moved from a table to table. And that's something like, let's say that we have, I know that it's a great mockup, but we have like to do, then we have in progress. So I'm master painter. We could have a card that's like whatever, that's much longer than the other ones, and we could move a task from one card, right, to the other one. And again, the cards, like displayed here, they could be moved around and like swap the order. So we would again need the same fields that we are using for the task list, right? So let's create the same small integer called order that would be unsigned. All right. But actually, the task is the hard part, because it not only has a name, it can also have description. And what also can have a task, like do we want to give an emoji to a task? I don't know. I really like the Notion style of things. So when we open a Notion, I hope there is nothing inappropriate here. Give me a second. Okay, we don't have anything. So a project can be assigned to somebody, or maybe even to a few people, right? So if it's a few people, we will not be keeping this in the model. We would create an additional model and then set the relationship. The status, we can have a status. I mean, it's not always the case that all of the cards like indicate the status, right? So instead of this, like if this would be the use case for a one person, we could have another person that would want it totally different, and this wouldn't be a to-do. This would be like a, I don't know, website launch. No, it's not visible, but you know what I mean, right? So I like the status. And then here we can add like a lot of things in the Notion, because it's like a like a wide, like sandbox or whatever. I don't know how it's called even. So we have all of these things really done. Here is a comment I didn't finish creating. So my initial thoughts was that a project should consist of name and avatar. So that's actually not a bad idea, but I think that we would have a model, like a general model that would hold all of the images. So let's say we want to have an avatar for the user. We want to have the avatar for a project. We want to have an, I don't know, maybe not avatar, but image, right? So let's keep it out of the migration. We can do the status, I guess. But do we want to limit the user, or do we want to like give them some flexibility? Because how I see this is like the easiest thing would be to have either like something like is done thingy, like this is, so when you have the status, we can have like, I don't know, to do, in progress, done, waiting, blocked. Like we can have a lot of statuses. However, I don't want to limit the users this way, I guess. I don't know what, let's leave it as a string, at least for now. Leave it as a string, so we would have status. This could probably be an enum if somebody likes that. Like, I really don't like enums, and I think like they are a little bit faster when you search by them, but like, would we really search tasks by status? Well, we actually could group them by statuses, so leave it as a string. So this is the most flexible way, at least at this stage. I guess this would come in handy. Like, being flexible is really valuable to me at this point of the product. Okay, so we have name, we have description, we have status, and we will also want a timestamp, or maybe a date time, with something like a deadline. So, like, I believe this would be a task pretty much. We can have some additional things, of course, but at this stage, I guess it's more than enough. But what we want to do is make this tree nullable. Nick asked if the task list represents status. So not sure what you mean, but think of this as a Trello board, right? So we can have, okay, I see. So that's something I was talking about before. So we can actually have a task list that represents the status, right? So we can have like to do, in progress, etc. But I don't want to limit the users. So I want for somebody that has totally different use case for the system, and it's not actually like a Scrum board for them, right? So I want for them to have an option to create something like, I don't know, a website launch, right? So this wouldn't be actually like, this wouldn't represent the status. This would be something like a list of tasks that you have to do to get this one done. And I don't think it's a good approach to make it this way, but I have seen people do this. So like, I don't want to take this flexibility from them, right? I want this system to be quite flexible. Yeah, so I hope this answers your question, and thanks so much for joining the stream. But yeah, I think like we can go with that, at least at this point. Let's migrate, and then we can create once again a very simple controller for the tasks. So we can extend it, maybe now even. Okay. Make controller. Let's call it a task controller. And once again, as a like some starting point, let's copy the, I know, task list controller, and maybe clean up a little bit because it's getting messy. Okay, so we have a task controller. I don't think we would be using the index function because like what we would want to do is fetch the task list with the tasks. So let's leave the index function, like let's delete it for now. We for sure would have a store and update and delete, but I don't think we would be using the index. And while we're at it, we can go to task list controller and actually make the board get lists, but also get tasks, and then execute the get. So we would get like the entire relationship. And here we would accept a task list. And then we would have a new request called task store request. And let's go into there. We could like for the request list for now, let's copy this one. And did we create it? Yeah. So task store request. Don't care about the authorization for now. So what we have a name, we have a description, we have a status and a deadline. So let's do that. We have the status and then the deadline. All right. So description, status, and deadline can be nullable. And they actually don't have to be present in the request. So let's, it's sometimes. Then a status would be like one of few, I guess, at least for now. But I guess like when I'm gonna start doing the front end, we'll come to some conclusion about the status. Right, so the description would be like, I don't know, how long can a description be? Like, I don't want to give the limits. Let's see what's the MySQL string max length. All right, you know what? So instead of doing the string for description, we can do text. Let's maybe this is a string. Okay. Because text is longer, and like we can have a pretty massive descriptions on the tasks, right? Because like sometimes the task is really big, and some people don't like the design docs, so they may use the description to give as much information as they possibly can. So let's not limit them in any stupid way. Let's check it once again. So MySQL text length, I believe it's like 60. Yeah, it's 65,000 characters. So let's do this. A little bit more actually. So 65535. Okay. Not sure about the status yet. The deadline would be a date if it's present in the request. So as for now, let's leave it as that. We'll come back to the status and make our final like decision. But yeah, I think it's looking good. So task store request, and then we're gonna have a task list, and then tasks create. I'm just wondering, like, if I want to do like a default one, so adding a task would be very easy. So you could just like mash a button and then it would pop up in the like leftmost column maybe, or you could specify this. I don't know. It's some idea. I don't know if it's good or bad, but it's an idea. So here, this wouldn't actually be a list, this would be a task. So this would be a task. Then update the doc. So for update, I guess the same request, at least for now. So here we would have a task, then a task, and here a task. Request validated, update the doc block, and we are good to go. And then for the delete part, we can have task, and we can do this, then return a null task. Alrighty, so we have this one. So what we can do now is create all of the actually all of the routes that we are going to need. So we would have a route called like projects, then a project, and then like boards. So I don't think we're going to use the IDs when it stopped. Like, I guess some sort of a slug or at least UUID would be better than just the ID. Like you don't really want to expose that, right? So like your internal database structure or whatever. So we'll think of this. However, it would have something like this. This would go to our board controller. And this would be an index action. We would have a post for boards that would store. And what more? We would have patch, we'd have delete. So boards, then a board, and here a board. Should be an update, and this would be a delete. All right, so we have the projects out of the way. We can move on to the task list. So, you know, it's getting kind of long. What we could actually do is we could create a route with a prefix called projects. And then we could add a group. And in the group, we can actually put all of these. And then we don't actually need to add the projects anymore, and like this would just work. Let's leave the leading slash here. So okay. So inside this one, we can have another one, same with the prefix. And this would be actually for the boards, right? So you have something like project and the board. Yeah. And then we can group it again, use the function. It looks kind of better with the new arrow syntax function PHP. However, we are not using PHP 7.4 here. So we can delete this whole chunk of string and make it look a lot more cleaner, at least for me. The only downside of this approach is that you won't get the the autocomplete in the function, the either helper or whatever. There is a nice one for PHP Storm, so this actually wouldn't work. Sip of coffee. Let me just put my icons on and we can move on. Okay, so we have the boards. Then after we have the board, as I said, we can do another root prefix for the specific board. Then we can group them. And let's copy this one. I know we haven't done really pretty much anything there, so this will be for the task list. Alrighty, so here at task list controller, let's clean this up and reformat the codes. So list no, what am I doing? So this would be just empty, so we would get the board and then we would get list. Then we would post to this to create a new list. Then we could actually patch the list. And then the tasks. So let's do root for the tasks, and then we'll think of a way for us to test this code, right? Because I don't think that we could just take a postman and try each one of them, but this wouldn't be very effective in the long term. So always think long term. So we don't have a get request for this one, right? So in our task controller, we deleted this one because in here we would fetch all of them. So we'll have post, patch, and delete for a task, and this would be a task controller. One thing we didn't do is the order column that we have still to have to take care of. Okay. So let's create factories. Fill them out pretty much because we have already created them. So let's start with a project. So we have a project factory. So we would have a name and then a faker. We can use this faker library to fake the fill the fake data, right? So we have our project factory. Then we would have a board factory, still just a name. And then task list factory, still just a name, and an order. So let's default this one to 0. This would actually be done in some sort of observer or in the controller. I think observer would be a good use case for this because we'd want to calculate this one every time a task list is created, right? Same as the task. But sorry, what we actually could do is create a trait that would boot into the the model events, and then this trait could take care of this order for us. But just for the testing, let's keep the order here. I'm not sure actually if the factory is triggering an observer. So let me just Google that really quick. Okay, so apparently it is firing. Okay, so that's great. So let's delete it. Then move to the task factory. And here we can have some more fun because it's not only going to be a title or a name, we can also have a description. So we can use the faker sentences, and then let's create a random from, I don't know, from 3 to 20 or 10 maybe. And then a second parameter is as text, and we want this true so we don't get an error. We have the status. So as for now, let's call it to do. We don't know what we want to do with the status yet. And we also have a deadline. So this will be something like a faker date time. And we can add date time between now sub week and now add week. So this will be somewhere within the 2 weeks range, right? To keep it accurate or something. So do we have everything? Create tasks table, name, description, status, deadline, and order. But this is something that we would handle in the trait. So what we can do now is actually create the trait, and then we will take a look, try to test this, because if it works all in the first try, this would be great. I really like this approach, as I said before, because it can actually save you time if you are conscious enough when you're creating this. So that's not the worst thing. Like worst case scenario, you fix some bugs. Like that's pretty much what you do your entire day, right? So let's create a class, and we can use the trait, and this would be something like, I don't know, sortable or has order. Like sortable is not the worst. I think it makes sense. Okay, so in here, what we want to do is put into the Laravel model events, right? Because there is a magic method that if you have a public static function called like boot sortable, I believe, public static function, right? Boot sortable. I believe like that's the proper name. Let me just Google this really quick. Laravel trait boot. Yeah, this is accurate. It's boot sortable. So here we can listen to like creating method. And then we can pass a closure. So I got it messy this way. And we accept this model, some sort of model here. So what we want to do here is check how many of this model is already there. So I'm like thinking of a general solution that would work for everything. So first of all, we'd have to fetch the field somehow. So we'd take the, I don't know, like I'm thinking of an API that would be nice to work with, right? I believe that like we could enforce the user of this, so pretty much me, to have an array called like sortable settings. Not the best, not the worst. And if it doesn't exist, we would just default to order. Then we could have some sort of conditions, right? So because it's not like okay, so let's say this would be like sortable field. But like then we would have to have some additional settings, because let's say we are doing this with task list, right? And this task list is a child. A task is a child of I don't know, first task, right? First task list 1. order 0, whatever. Then we could have like another task that would be a child of another task list. So we have to like figure out a way that we can query the proper field, like group them together, right? So we could do something like this. So we would take the model, and then we could do a where, and let's just, like, at least for now, just hardcode this so we can see how this will work. So we could find all task lists that pretty much have the same ID as model task list, right? And then we would count them. Right? So like we can call this an index, and then we would return deduct -1, deduct 1 from this because we are starting at 0, and the count would be like one more, right? So now the only thing we have left is to set the field to be at the index. Okay, so we have two of them. One is 0, and the other one is 1. So the one we're creating would be 2, right? So actually we won't be deducting the -1, and we would get the same thing, right? Yeah. Because I guess we want to default to the last item, so this would work, hopefully. Like I guess that's the only thing we need, because in the updating part, like we would have some function there that would like pretty much do the same query, and then update all of the ones above or below like when we are swapping. We have a few of these, right? We have oh man, I'm really bad at paint. We have a few of them. So like we could take this one and put it somewhere there, right? So what we want, like the proper approach would be to take all of the cards that are between these two, and let's say it was order 0, this was order 1, this was order 2. So, and here we would have another one. So let's say this is a 3, and this is a 4. So when we moved it 3 in a place of the first one, like the first index, so we set the index to 1, this would be bumped up to 2, this would be bumped up to 3. So like the proper query would just take all of the ones between these two that we're moving around, and then just bumping this, like incrementing this by 1. So we can make a function that would be like move to general, to just call it a move. I don't know, like move to index. I don't know, it kind of stinks. I like to move. So here we would take an integer of the index, I guess, or if maybe we could like get an idea of where we want to put this or something. But let's like, at least for now, let's say that we want to get an index where we are moving this one. So also I think I have kind of went over with this trait. We could just apply this logic to one model, then to the other one, and like I really like the rule. Oh, sorry guys, the rule of 3. So when you find the code that is duplicated over and over in 3 places, then it's a good like indicator that it's a time to extract. I think I have kind of hasted that. But you know what? It is what it is. It will make our life a mess, but whatever. So we know, like we have the model, we have the old index. So what we want to do is find all of the models to be moved. Let's use this one. So this would be like self, where task list is model task list. So this would be this task list, where index is, and this is one is kind of tricky, because if we are doing this the other way, so we are moving the like from here, we are moving to here, we would still take the ones that are between, but instead of increasing the number, we would decrease it. So we have to like check the like direction. So if the index where we are moving is bigger, or maybe if it's bigger than the current index, it's called order. This could, okay, it's a mess, but it's a work in progress. This would be an order, just keep it simple. So if the index is bigger than the order, so like if we're going this direction, then we are going like from the third one to the first one. So the index is smaller, right? So this one is bigger. All right. So if the index is bigger, then we are moving like down, then we are moving up. Right, because from third to the one, okay. I had to stop the music to yeah. So instead of this, we would take the we would have something like this, and then we would have like the opposite direction. So this would be the other way around. And you may ask, why is that? Because we want to have them in a box. We want to put them in a box. So we have borders, like frames from one side and then the frames from the other one. So where order is direction, and then the index, where order is also opposite direction than this index order. Yeah. And based on that, we would want to either increment these models or decrement them. So if the index is bigger than this order, then we would want to decrement them, decrement the order, and in like at this point we could do something like this: update order to the index, and the other way around, we could just return this one. Increment order. Alrighty. So is this logic making any sense to you guys? Because I believe there is still an error here. I just have to think think about this once again. Okay. So once again, I made a mess here. So let's try with a clean plate. We have these fields, these things. It can be whatever. And we have the orders. So we have 2, 3, and 4. So when we are moving the 3 at the first place, so 3 to 1, so the index that we are moving to is smaller. Yeah, we are taking the case where we are moving 3 to 1. So the index is smaller, so the direction would be this one, and this would be this one. Right. So we did this the other way around, because we should take all of these where the order is bigger than the index we are moving to, and actually it won't be bigger, it will be inclusive. So we would have something like this, then we would have something like this, and then the opposite direction wouldn't contain the last element, right? Because we don't want to update the 3, we want just to update the one that's the same as the index we're moving to, and one less than the index we're moving from. All right, so the opposite direction would be something like this. And then if the index, so if 1 is bigger than 3, it's not. So we are doing this one. Then we are doing this one. All right. So where order is bigger or equal 1, and where order is smaller than the one we are moving from, so 3. Okay, so this seems like a logical thing to do. And then if the index is bigger, then we would decrement, and if it's smaller, we would increment. So in our case, it's smaller, we should increment to 2 and then to 3 to keep it consistent and that we don't lose anything. So, okay, this seems to be done in the proper way. We'll see eventually, I guess. Okay, so we can either write tests or we can do some React coding, and I think I'm gonna go with the React. I am doing a lot of front-end lately because I was doing some redesign work for the client. So I kind of like it, but I don't have a lot of experience in React, so we'll see how this goes. I guess we'll be doing more design than testing. It's like we don't want just to create some I don't know, so dummy front end so we can show the data from backend. I think we can do this whole like the entire picture, so we can do both the front end, like the front end, so a designy one, and we can also do the backend. So when the time comes, we'll send a request. The thing is that we actually don't want these routes in the web folder. We want them in the API folder. So there would be a middleware of auth API, and then we could have a prefix. All right. So what I'm gonna do, because I had a fresh installation of Passport, I'm gonna do. Oh. Yeah, it's creating new ones. Okay. So let's do this. Did we run the yarn? Yes, we did. Okay. Come on. Why can't I click it? Something is trolling me today. So this is our front end, and it's kind of buggy. Actually, it's very buggy. Yeah, exactly. Like we are not handling any errors there yet, etc. We are just like moving around and trying things. And let's refresh. We should get redirected to or maybe this root isn't protected. Yeah, it is not. Okay. So let's go to the projects page. And I have this function that, give me a second. So, okay, we have to change this. So we'll have a function called projects, but then actually we'll export default protect root projects. Let's see, and it's not this one. Yeah, it's protect root, but it's uppercase. Is it imported? It is. Okay. So now that if we entered our page once again, we should get redirected to the login page. Exactly. All right. So we can log in using the same data. It's still like not working great because the sidebar flashed and then we got redirected. Like there is a lot of small bugs, but it's made using the Laravel password, right? Because we are using OAuth for authorization. We could also use JWT because I'm still like kind of making the OAuth simpler by using a little hack. Never mind. But nevertheless, we want to do the projects, and I actually did some some work on the front end apparently before. So what we're gonna do actually in our backend, when I have transferred the roots from web.php to the API PHP, we have forgot our imports. So let's get them in here, and well, let's see if this works. Pretty much. And as we can see, it does. Or it does not. Oh, it does. Okay, we got all of the projects. And the loading thingy disappeared, the skeleton. So here I was just like experimenting with the skeletons. I found a great guy that was doing them, and kind of got inspired by him. And it's if I won't forget, I will link this one to you. Okay, so at the moment we have skeletons. When our data is loading, we are using something called SWR. It's stale. Oh man. It's stale while revalidate. Pretty much it's a library that takes any of the features as a parameter, and then it makes an API call, but it's also caching the response. So if we enter our page for the first time, like the projects page, we won't see, like we will see the skeleton being loaded, but then if we change the page and then go back, actually we will not see this, and in the background we'll make an API call, and then when the data comes in, our project list will be refreshed, right? So this is something really powerful and gives us a lot of flexibility. Okay. So yeah, like it's a cool idea that projects could have some closing date, like a deadline, and they could be maybe separated into like segments, but keep it simple for now. I have some pretty interesting ideas as far as the projects go. All right, so what we want to do is use the actual data on the list rendered here because it's one I borrowed from the Tailwind UI packages. So if we have the data and we can map the data, we could do something like this, and then copy this part of code, paste it here, and delete the rest to the li. So I guess like the proper thing to do, like React-wise, would be to separate these to a function, right? So this would be something like, I don't know, a project preview or something, and then we could pass the data. So we could have a prop called name, as this is the only thing I believe that our element contains. So we could even do something like this. So destructure it here, but then we have to wrap it in brackets, and then we could pass the name here. Okay, so let's create a function called project preview, right? Project preview. Then we could return. All right. So we are going to need some more data than that. We are going to need ID, and so we'll pass this. We could also pass like the entire object, right, that we are getting from the API. But I don't know, I like the props that are passed this way, I think a little bit more. It kind of depends. All right, so what we're going to do here is to pass the ID, and like don't really worry about this. I guess we'll change how this looks and works in a bit, because I don't like it, to be honest. And here would be the people list. So this is something that we might introduce in the future, and this one is too much. And this one would be like the link. So in here we would paste the name. Okay, so let's see how we are looking. We get an error. Data.map is not a function. Why is it not a function? Okay, so it's an array. Right, because it will be data.projects.map. And then if we save, this could actually work. Yeah, I mean, we have nothing here, so it's kind of hard to see. However, we could like user first, I believe that's me. Yeah. Team, then projects. Yeah, it's empty. Then let's create a new one. I don't know, let's call it Thursday live stream. This is our project. Oh yeah, for sure. The thing I hate, like really hate, is that Laravel is adding this auto protection for us. So we cannot just do things like this without specifying this. But well, now we can. You could also be like extra safe and create this fillable and then put in all the fields that you want. But however, if you have these form requests and you are really like taking care of the data you're passing to your create and store and update functions, then you should be perfectly fine with the guarded set to an empty array. So we actually got our project. However, the objects are not valid as a React child. Find object with keys. If you're meant to render a collection of children, use an R instead. So like this is the thing, I don't really know because I'm quite new to the Next and React. I mean, I've been doing some Gatsby before for static sites. In fact, my own site is built with Gatsby, and why I quite like it. So okay, the first thing, not this either, this one. The first one is that we could use the keys. So we could use the this thing and well, let's Google it. Let's do this. We'll check what's the issue. Data.projects.map. Oh man, I am kind of stuck here. It's kind of embarrassing because it's a very simple thing. It's I've done it before. It's always these little things that you like. They keep popping out of your head. Okay, so we have the team map member. Project. Okay, so I highly doubt that's it, because we should get this, like this should be working, right? Okay, so we could console log the project, see what's it all about. Then we could return the data this way. Oh, no, that's okay. We have UL. Oh man, I feel really stupid now. We have like one root element, so that's great. I don't know. Are we using the map here somewhere? Yeah, we are. Rooms map, room. Okay, so how are we using this one? It's been a while. Okay. So like, it's the same thing. We have the sidebar. We have the rooms. And if we have the rooms, then we are just mapping them, which is exactly the same thing that we are doing right now. So oh man, I believe that's it. Like the debug message is kind of unclear, at least for me. Okay, so we have the Tuesday live stream. And let me show you something, guys. Actually, let's switch the page. And then if we create another one, I know, do the laundry. I know it's not really a task, so let's call it Workkit. Workkit coding, right? So if you can see, it will be really quick. So if you go to the projects, we see at first only a Thursday live stream, and then after a while in the background we make another API request to fetch the other one. Okay. So I guess we could do some styling to this. Let me just check my phone really quick. Oh man, a lot of things. Sorry. So I have actually created some view that would show how the project would look inside. That's not totally accurate because we have the boards. So let's swap this view. We have projects and then we have a single project. Right. I'm not sure how would you go to. I believe this would be the approach to create a directory called project, and then you could create a file called like index.js, and then this would be the view where we would show the like a list of boards. So this would be like boards. Then we would export default project root boards. Alrighty. So let's return the because we can have a const project ID, and we can make the router use the router, and then we could do like router dot query dot project, and let's just echo out the project ID would be project ID. Let's do that. So if we have any lag, and we don't, because we still haven't changed this one, let's move it up here, and we would call this actually create this in a board directory, and then here we would have here an index.js, and then this index.js would contain all of these things. This would be a project, then we can delete this one, and I believe we should be good to go. So project index.js can't resolve the avatar. We can actually remove this one. Okay, so we have the project ID here, which is great, because now what we would do is make a request to show all of the projects. So we can pretty much copy this one, and then if we go into our project and then index.js, we can do stuff like this, and our URL would be projects, then the project ID, and this would be all, I believe. So we can console log the data, and then if we actually have the data, then we can map through this. So this would be a board, and okay, and here we would have like we could just do the board name. Let's see if this works. Are we getting the... Oh, yeah, because like it's not the templates string, so now this would work, and we would get the we would make the proper request to the server. All right, we get 404, which is kind of weird. But I guess like I might know what's the issue. Because in the API PHP we did the prefix thing, and I always forget like what's the proper function actually for this. Oh, so it is actually prefix. Project. Oh, we don't want that. We just want this one, because like we don't want the URL to be super long. Yeah, so let's try this once again. Like data map is not a function. Why it's not a function? If we have the data. Oh boy. Because once again it has to have the keyboards, then we can actually use the map. All right. So in case we have the data and the data board's length and then we could just echo out something like I don't know, no boards found. We'll add the button to create the boards later on. Okay, so we get 0. Like, I believe this should fix the issue. I'm not sure of the like proper approach in React, how to do this. I thought like this would be cast to Boolean. Apparently not. Okay, this was weird. Okay, so now what we want to do is the same thing. So pretty much we would take the first project, and then we would create a board or a few of these. So we could have, I don't know, a board called so I don't know, Frontend. And again, the same thing that Laravel does. So let's set the guard to an empty array. Go to Tinker and create the board. So let's do front-end and back-end. Let's do, I don't know, marketing. Let's do launch. Let's do beta. Just to have few of these up there. So it shows us no boards found. Because this should be this way. If it's it shouldn't be casted to a boolean, it should be reverted. So actually, okay, now it won't be shown. And let's do some styling actually. Like don't think we can do something crazy with just a list of names, but like for starters, we could just make it flex, make it full width. I guess this would be a default thing. Also, I didn't make yet the UI components, so this is kind of lame because I don't have like the padding specified, and there is no like there is more than one styles for a button, and I don't really want to duplicate them. But yeah, let's start with the header. So go to the dashboard. And copy this header. We'll extract it to a component later on, but just for now, keep it like this. So project, and this would be a place where we put the name. But for now, let's just put the ID here. So we go into our projects now, and let's go to the Thursday live stream. We actually get the list of the boards. So what is our padding here? So we have a few of these. We could add some margin, and then we could add our padding, so we have some breathing room. I really hate that because like out of the box, Next is really fast, and I did the authentication higher order components to keep the auth and the user in sync. However, I think I messed this up because like there is a lot of additional time that has to okay, whatever, just throw an error. The front end is a mess. Like we still have a lot of work to do, guys. So let's get our projects page again. Alrighty. So what we're gonna do is like get this in any shape, so it's acceptable at least, and then we'll finish the stream for today. We'll do the flex grid, and we'll do grid calls for, give it a gap 4, then we can do pick a white, rounded LG, shadow LG, flex justify between. We'll add a color here, so we would have some sort of a box. Actually don't want to justify between, at least not now. This will be a square, so we'll have something like H16, W16, then again, BG Indigo 800, then text white, and rounded LG. Then we could grab some icon, whatever icon pretty much, to just, because this would be customizable, I guess, or like this could be an avatar for the project. However, I don't know. We will see how this goes. Now we are just doing a dummy view. So let's see how this looks. All right. We need to add some padding. So let's try with 4 for the start. Then in here, we could actually make it a flex, then do items center and justify around. And here we could add some margin left, sorry. So if this one reloads, the icon is too big for sure. So let's try with 8. Kind of better. Like I think if the background color wouldn't be like plain white, it would look a bit better at least. But you know, it's a start. We are just doing the dummy frontend. But I have to be wrapping up for today. So thank you so much for the time. If there is anyone that made it through to this point. And I really appreciate it, guys. I kind of like this format. I know that there won't be a lot of viewers at the start at least, but I don't know. If you enjoyed it, it was great to have you here, and hope to see you in the next episode or in the next stream. So thank you once again.